The movie begins with Ankel, a paramedic working with his partner, Ricard. They head to the scene of an accident that's been reported, rescuing the injured and transferring them to the ambulance. However, we see Ankel taking advantage of everyone's distraction by stealing personal belongings from one of the injured people. After he finishes his shift, he returns home, where his wife, Fanny, is waiting for him. When he arrives, she tells him she's heading out to work. Ankel waits for her to leave, then hides the items he stole that day. It becomes clear that Ankel has a bad habit of taking something from every patient he transfers to the hospital. That night, he struggles to sleep due to a neighbor's dog barking loudly. The next day, Ankel is called to the apartment of an elderly woman after neighbors called the paramedics, thinking she'd passed out. When they arrive, they find she has actually died. While everyone is distracted, Ankel sneaks some jewelry from her box and decides to keep one ring. When he returns home, Fanny talks to him and says they need to visit a doctor due to her delayed pregnancy, despite their repeated attempts that have failed. Ankel confidently tells her it's not his fault, which annoys Fanny so much she almost leaves. But he manages to calm her down, agreeing to undergo a checkup. The next day, he gets tested and learns he has a minor issue that caused the delay, though the doctor assures him it's simple to address through artificial insemination. Ankel decides not to tell Fanny about his problem and instead says the doctor suggested they try again. He proposes that they take a weekend trip, but Fanny declines because she has exams. She's studying veterinary medicine alongside her job, and Ankel makes fun of her studies, upsetting her, so she leaves to her room. She receives a message on her phone from a guy named Robert. A few days later, Ankel and Ricard receive an emergency call about an accident on the road. They rush to the scene and transfer one of the injured into their ambulance. On the way to the hospital, the patient has a severe seizure, causing Ricard to lose focus and speed up to reach the hospital quickly. Suddenly, a car swerves into their path, and their ambulance flips over. Due to the accident, Ankel is paralyzed and loses sensation in his lower limbs, leaving him devastated. Fanny stands by him, supporting him and ensuring his needs are met. After a while, Ricard, who suffered only minor injuries, visits Ankel. When Ankel sees him, he becomes furious, blaming Ricard for his condition, believing Ricard wasn't focused during the drive. He refuses to listen to Ricard's apologies and throws him out. That evening, Fanny prepares to leave for her classes after making sure Ankel has everything he might need while she's gone. Robert calls her, asking if she'll attend the lecture, and she tells him she's leaving the house. Ankel notices and asks her about Robert, and she explains he's a classmate who has been helping her study, especially since she had to miss a lot of classes after his accident. But Ankel doesn't believe her and feels suspicious, leading him to decide to keep an eye on her. Ankel begins spying on Fanny by installing a surveillance app on her phone, allowing him to watch her videos and track her movements. During one of his physical therapy sessions, he finds out that his trainer has been replaced by a new female trainer, which frustrates him, so he acts rudely toward her. In the evening, as Fanny gets ready to go to her classes, Ankel asks her to pick up a few things from the grocery store before leaving. She heads out to get what he needs, and Ankel seizes the opportunity to install the tracking software on her phone. When she returns and takes her things to leave, Ankel opens the program on his laptop to monitor her actions in real time, both audio and video. As usual, Ankel struggles to sleep at night due to the loud barking of his neighbor's dog, so the next day he decides to ask his neighbor why the dog is always so loud. The neighbor apologizes, explaining that his wife is sick, and he goes to visit her in the hospital at night, leaving the dog alone, which is why it barks so much. Ankel, however, shows no sympathy and doesn't respond, leaving abruptly. Ankel and Fanny have dinner together, and he tells her that he's starting to feel better, and that his trainer mentioned he might regain feeling in his limbs after some time. Fanny doesn't seem happy about it, so Ankel asks if something is on her mind. She tells him she was offered an internship at a veterinary clinic, which would mean reducing her work hours. Ankel becomes annoyed, as they have been relying on her salary since he stopped working. He wants her to turn down the offer, but she sees it as a rare opportunity. They argue, and Ankel accuses her of being selfish and unable to support him, even though he's always taken care of her. Fanny, angered by his words, leaves for work without responding. That night, Ankel experiences unbearable pain in his leg and tries to call Fanny, but her phone is off. He searches for painkillers and eventually finds them in the kitchen drawer. After taking some, he hides the box. When Fanny returns, he accuses her of leaving him without painkillers all night and blames her for neglecting him. When she checks for the painkillers she had put away, she realizes they're missing and goes out to buy a new box. Ankel then decides to get rid of his neighbor's annoying dog. He places pins inside a piece of meat and takes it out to the dog. As soon as the dog eats it, it suffers serious injuries and dies. Another day, Ankel overhears a call between Fanny and her friend, where Fanny complains about Angel's behavior and the burden she's been carrying. Her friend advises her to leave him because he doesn't appreciate her, but Fanny refuses, saying she can't abandon him in his current condition. On the same day, when Fanny comes home from work, she finds that Angel has prepared a romantic dinner for her and even cooked her favorite dishes himself. Fanny is surprised by Angel's sudden change in behavior, but he apologizes to her, saying he was wrong and that he agrees she should start her training. He also tells her he will schedule a new appointment with the doctor to address their fertility issues. This makes Fanny happy, and she decides to give Angel another chance. A message then appears on Fanny's phone, and at the same time, she hears the notification sound from another room. She goes to check and discovers her phone is connected to the laptop, and realizes that Angel had been spying on her, knowing all her movements and conversations. Scared by his behavior, Fanny takes advantage of his being in the bathroom, quickly gathers her things, and leaves. When Angel comes out, he finds Fanny gone and realizes she had uncovered his surveillance. Months later, Angel is still alone after Fanny left him. Despite the time that's passed, he cannot move on and continues to monitor her. He's shocked to find out that Fanny has gotten together with his friend Ricard, and that they are expecting a baby, as he sees them shopping at a baby store. The next day, Angel goes to meet Fanny to talk to her, but she refuses to engage and tells him to stay away. Angel tells her he came to apologize for everything he did and admits she made the right choice by leaving him, as she deserves much better. He also confesses that he's given up on himself and no longer wants to pursue treatment, then walks away. His words move Fanny, and she feels pity for him, so she calls him back and offers to drive him home. When they arrive, Angel tells her he kept some of her belongings, including her passport, and that she can come up to retrieve them. She goes upstairs to get her things and sees the chaotic state the house is in, suggesting he should look for someone to help him. Angel then asks her if she has moved on or forgotten him, but she doesn't answer and goes to collect her things. Suddenly, Angel injects her with a sedative, paralyzing her, and she loses consciousness. When Fanny wakes up, she finds herself tied to the bed. Angel tells her he has managed to bring her back home and that this time, she won't be able to leave him. He plays loud music so no one will hear her if she screams. Afterward, he takes her phone and sends a message to Ricard, posing as her, telling him that she wants to break up and that he shouldn't look for her because she's going to leave and get rid of the baby. Then he throws the phone into water and returns to Fanny, who promises not to scream if he removes the gag. But she becomes terrified when he reveals that he knows about her relationship and that she's pregnant. She screams for help, so he gags her again and gives her another dose of the sedative. The next day, Angel hears a knock on the door from his neighbor, who complains about the loud music. Angel replies that he put up with the barking of the man's dog for a long time without saying anything. The neighbor feels sad and tells Angel that he used to leave his dog alone while visiting his sick wife, but now they've both passed away, leaving him alone. The neighbor also mentions he heard Fanny's voice screaming for help. Angel responds by saying he and Fanny broke up months ago and that the woman with him was just a call girl, then shuts the door in his face. The coach notices in Ankel's sessions that he has gained energy and is working on himself more. Ankel tells her that he is expecting a new baby, which has given him the motivation to seek treatment. When Ankel returns from a therapy session, he finds Ricard waiting for him outside the house, asking about Fanny because she has been missing for a few days. Ricard admits that he has gotten into a relationship and that they were waiting for the right time to tell him, but it's clear that Ankel is not interested. He says he doesn't know anything about Fanny and makes an excuse that he's tired, then walks away. Fanny wakes up and finds herself uncuffed, but she is shocked when she realizes she can't feel her legs or move them. Ankel tells her she is under a local anesthetic and that it's just a temporary feeling to ensure she doesn't escape. Ankel discovers messages from Ricard where he says he is sure Ankel is the reason for Fanny's disappearance and that he will contact the police to report him. However, Ankel ignores Ricard's messages and goes to have dinner with Fanny, talking to her about the baby as if it were his child. He even decides that if she has a boy, he will name him after himself. Fanny takes advantage of the moment when her hands are free and hits him over the head with a bottle, falling from the bed. She crawls and tries to escape, but Ankel catches up to her and gives her a sedative. Fanny screams loudly for help, and this time, the neighbor knocks on the door, telling Ankel he is sure he heard Fanny and that she is in the house, threatening to call the police. This increases the neighbor's suspicions as he sees Ankel's injured head. He asks to come in and search the house. When the neighbor enters to search, he is shocked to see Fanny lying on the floor. Before he can react, Ankel stabs him multiple times until he kills him. Afterward, Ankel contacts a criminal to come and dispose of the body, cleaning up the scene in exchange for a large sum of money. The next day, Ankel is surprised when the police visit him at home and ask about Fanny. At that moment, Ankel has locked Fanny in a room and has shut the door. Ankel pretends to be calm and tells them he has been separated from her for months. They ask if he knows about Fanny's relationship with his friend Ricard, and he claims he knew and didn't mind their relationship. He lies and says the last time he saw Fanny was a week ago, when she came to say goodbye because she was traveling to France. The investigators believe him and thank him for his help before leaving, but Ankel realizes that Ricard has become a danger to him, so he decides to eliminate him as well. Ankel manages to sneak into Ricard's house and waits for him in the bathroom. He attacks him and quickly gives him a sedative. After Ricard loses consciousness, Ankel gives him a large dose of drugs and alcohol to make it seem like the cause of death was natural due to drug overdose. Ankel returns home to Fanny, who has started to resign herself to the reality she is in. It appears that Fanny has also begun using a wheelchair like Ankel due to the drugs that Ankel continues to inject her with so she won't escape. Ankel proposes to Fanny and gives her the ring he stole from a victim one day, telling her he is ready to start a new chapter with her and forget the past, but only after he regains his trust in her. Fanny goes to the bathroom and asks Ankel to close the door. She takes advantage of being alone and runs the water so he won't suspect anything, searching the bathroom cabinet until she finds a sharp object that could help her. At night, Fanny's fever rises, and Ankel becomes worried about the baby, so he goes down to buy her some medicine from the pharmacy. At that moment, Fanny quickly takes the object and frees herself, crawling until she can get out of the house. But at that time, Ankel arrives and finds Fanny trying to escape. Fanny continues to crawl away from him, and Ankel tries to catch her until he finally manages to grab her. But Fanny resists him with all her strength, pulls out a knife she had hidden, and stabs him multiple times. Ankel falls from a great height to the ground. A few months later, we see that Ankel is still alive but has suffered complete paralysis in all his limbs, and can no longer speak or move his face. The nurse comes in and tells him he is lucky because he has a wife who loves him and cares for him. We see Fanny, who is in the final months of her pregnancy, going to pick Ankel up from the hospital to take care of him. We learn that she is planning to take revenge on him for every moment and every terrifying experience he put her through. Our film ends here. If you like the movie, don't forget to like it and subscribe to the channel.